Welcome to Kreider Farms. I'm third generation owner of Kreider Farms. We've been in business for 85 years, started with a small farm here in Mannheim, the homestead we call it, which was built in 1792, same year the White House was being built, actually. And my grandparents started out with 10 cows and 200 chickens, a typical farm back then, in 1935. But since then, we've done a lot. And so today you're going to be going on a tour to the milk processing plant, which we started in 1972, an ice cream plant. You'll be seeing the dairy operation, egg farms, and a large cropping operation there for the dairy cows. On the dairy farm, we have a observation tower that hopefully you'll be going up today, and lots of other exciting things. So enjoy the tour, and thanks for coming to Kreider Farms.
Hello, I'm Dave Andrews. I'm in charge of sales and marketing for Kreider Farms, and we're here at the very heart of the Kreider farming operation. Behind me is the original Kreider Farms homestead, and this was started in 1935 by Noah and Mary Kreider. The history of the farm actually goes back to the 1700s, though, because Mary was Mary Hershey, and she grew up in this house, and this farm was in her family since the early 1700s when Christian Hershey settled this area. And she was actually a cousin to Milton Hershey, whose family came through this area as well. And Noah and Mary Kreider bought the farm from her father in 1935, and that was the beginning of Kreider Farms. They took out a mortgage on the farm and put into the mortgage enough money to buy the first gasoline-powered tractor in the valley. And a lot of their friends thought they were crazy that they would go bankrupt, because if you remember, that was following the Depression and things were kind of tough at the time. But they were hard workers, and some of the neighboring farms then started paying them to till their fields with their new gasoline-powered tractor. And sure enough, within about 2 years, they had the farm and the tractor paid off, and Kreider Farms was up and running at that time and established. Noah and Mary Kreider is very shrewd business people and hard workers. So over the years, they continued to buy additional farms as they would go up for sale. And so today, Kreider Valley here consists of about 1,700 acres of farmland, which we still farm to this day. Now, if we turn to the right, you'll see our dairy farm, and that's host to 1,700 milking cows that we milk 3 times a day. You'll see our silo there, which we'll take a closer look at a little bit later. And our egg processing facility is over the hill, which you can't see from here, but we can get a shot of that a little bit later. Now, if we turn to the right, we'll go through some of our farm fields, and then that building you see off into the distance, that is our farm shop. And that's the center of all of our farming operations for Kreider Farms. That's host to all of our farming equipment, our trucks, tractors, trailers, our drivers, and our mechanics are there. And our mechanics are actually very interesting people, because they, at harvest time, will drop their tools, all hands on deck, and they're out in the fields harvesting with our harvesting equipment. So we're very much jacks of all trade around here, and which I think makes our jobs a lot more interesting. And so our mechanics are very interesting people. Now, as we continue around more to the right, we'll go through some of our farm fields, and then you'll see that building at the top of the hill is our milk processing plant, where we bottle all of our milk fresh every day, and we also produce our farm fresh ice cream at that facility. Now, if you'll notice just to the right of that, you'll see a red brick building, and that is a water pumping station with a deep water well that was on our original homestead that we turned over to the local Penn Township community. And because the local community was running out of water and they needed some additional water, so we worked with them to put up this pumping station for additional fresh water for the local community. So that's your 360-degree panorama, and we hope you enjoy your tour of Kreider Farms, and we'll move on to our next location.
Hello, welcome to Kreider Farms milk plant. This is a milk plant, probably a mid-sized milk plant for the area, for the state. We started as a store in this location right here. This is on Doe Run Road in Mannheim, PA. There were a series of stores, and most of the stores faded out in the early 2000s. This one was a milk processing plant that processed milk only for the store at one time. So it was very small and very limited equipment. But through the years, we've grown, and our customer base has widened to include Philadelphia, New Jersey, Maryland, and somewhat in the Harrisburg area. We have upgraded this plant. We've put tons of money into it in the last 3 to 4 years to bring it up to snuff with all of the production that we were able to handle. This plant was at one time very manual, everything done manually, and some of the things are still old school, done manually. But a lot of the processing equipment now has been modernized, and the computer systems and the IDT screens and the controls for everything are pretty state-of-the-art, and we're probably up in the top 5 of new plants in the state of Pennsylvania. Almost every surface that the milk touches now is brand new. Our quality, because of the fact that we're new and because we have such a dedicated staff here, has been just off the charts. We are a very high quality plant here. We process milk 4 days a week. We run about 20,000 gallons a day, 4 days a week. And then 1 day a week we do drinks. We do like an orange juice, lemonade, and we have a line of iced teas. We also process ice cream here. We process that usually 3 to 4 days a week. And just within the last few years, we added a 7,000 square foot freezer to enable us to be much more efficient on ice cream. This is the Kreider Farms ice cream room. We make ice cream 3 to 4 days a week. We run anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 gallons of ice cream. The ice cream is actually formulated and pasteurized in our milk processing room. And then we come into these 2 tanks and we store our ice cream and flavor it and have it ready to package. We have a continuous flow ice cream system. This freezer here is currently running ice cream, and we're adding air into the ice cream. A lot of people don't realize that when you take ice cream mix, you incorporate air into it, and that's what enables it to stay soft when it's frozen, and so that it becomes scoopable. We run about 30 different flavors of ice cream. We run it into about 4 or 5 different containers. We do a process where we freeze the ice cream, and we have a couple machines here that we can add inclusions. We can add sauces if we need to, but our ice cream production is still hand filled. This is the original ice cream room. It's probably been here for over 30 years, and because of the size of it, we've decided to stay manually filling. Today they're running cookies and cream. You can see the cookies sitting there, and these fellas are getting it ready, putting it in the sleeves, shrink wrapping it, and then it goes into our freezer to flash freeze before it gets moved over to storage. This is our ice cream cooler. This is the newest section of our plant. We just opened this up a year ago. Not a place that you want to spend a lot of time in. It's minus 20 degrees in here, but this has enabled us to run our ice cream very efficiently. We used to run 6 to 7 to 8 different flavors a day. Now with this freezer and this amount of storage, we can get down to running just 1 flavor a day, which is the most efficient way to run ice cream. There are some people that work in here. There's a girl named Sue, who I don't know how she does it, but she spends most part of her day in here picking orders. I'm used to just getting in here and getting out of here because it's too cold. We process about 80,000 gallons of milk a week. It comes from our cows down at the farm, which you'll see later. We have the thing that's unique about our company is we have 1,600 cows, and we use only our own milk. We have no commingled milk coming from the outside. Our milk comes fresh from the cow, There are times that we're actually bottling milk in less than an hour after it came from the cow. Because we'll bring it from the cow, we'll quick chill it to 38 degrees, load it on our truck, bring it up here and process it. Behind me is the processing equipment. We have a separator, an HTST, a homogenizer sitting over here. We're very efficient on the process. We used to run only about 900 gallons an hour. Now we're running about 1,800 gallons an hour, and that has enabled us to take on a little bit more volume. The equipment, as I said, is all brand new here, state of the art, and we have come a long way just in the last 5 years. This is our milk filling area in the plant. We have 2 fillers. They're both federal fillers. One fills quarts, pints, and half pints. The other one does gallons and half gallons. The federal filler behind me over here is a brand new filler we just installed about 2 years ago, and it's been very efficient for us. It's enabled us to run at much higher speeds than we had previously. The old filler was probably about 40 years old that this one replaced. The filler on this side is a gallon, half gallon filler, and currently we're running Kreider chocolate milk on there. This is probably the workhorse. A majority, probably 60 to 70% of all the milk that we fill here is filled on this filler. We've had this filler since 1990. The technology in filling machines hasn't changed a whole lot, other than we did upgrade this filler to put screw cap on it, and as you can see, it's putting a screw cap on the top. This filler we keep busy 5 days a week when it's not running milk on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Wednesdays, we're running juice, tea, and fruit juices. This is our milk case-off area. Currently, you're seeing chocolate milk going out in pints and being put into plastic cases. Our casing machinery is very versatile. It allows us to run either into plastic dairy cases or into cardboard boxes. This machine here will case off quarts, pints, and half pints, and the one behind me does gallons and half gallons. The product is put into cases, it's stacked and transferred to the cooler, where from there we pick orders and load trucks. Here we have a mechanical stacker. The gallon or half gallon crates are coming down, being stacked, and then they're transferred into the cooler. We have such a short distance between our stacking area and our cooler that we still do that by dolly. A lot of places have a bigger production area, and they'll use conveyors to convey into the cooler. Ours is still a very manual operation. Product is pulled off the line and manually brought into the cooler and stored. We store everything in here from our milk to our teas. This is what we call our case cooler. This is all the product that goes into milk crates. The gentlemen in here that are putting together orders, they're taking an order and it's called picking, and they're picking an order, getting it ready for shipment. We have 3 different coolers. We have a milk case cooler, we have a milk box cooler, and then we have a cooler at the end of the warehouse that is where we load our orders. After they're put together, we load out to trucks. This is our newest product. It's a drinkable yogurt that we put out. It's in 3 different flavors. It has vanilla, berry, and a strawberry banana. These are packaged in 8-ounce containers. A lot of the new equipment that we added was added with expansion in mind, and some of our new products are lactose-free milk. We added 2 of those. We have a whole and a 2%, and then this yogurt was 3 different flavors that we added to be run on that equipment as well. This is the bottle room of the Kreider Farm milk plant. Again, we're very small, so on the line to the right here, we're putting on pints. We still put those on by hand. Behind me, we have a semi-automatic gallon dispenser that is putting gallon jugs on the line. We go through probably in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 trailers of bottles a day, probably about 5 to 8 a week. We begin our run late in the evening around 7, 8 o'clock, and we run all night long until about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So we're at the end of the shift now. We're finishing off, of course, with chocolate, which is the last run of the day. This is the label application. We're applying chocolate milk labels to our gallons. We run about 90 units a minute on gallons and half gallons. With all of the processing upgrades that we've done in the last few years, it has enabled us to run a lot more milk at a time. In order to accommodate that milk, we had to put in a new tank farm, we call it, is a series of silos. The stainless steel silos at the front of the plant, we have 2 10,000-gallon silos and 3 5,000-gallon silos, and that enables us to run ahead on milk and be able to package and process milk throughout an entire evening and into the next morning. These tanks were installed about 4 years ago, and they've really improved our quality because of the fact that when you buy a new tank, everything's completely state-of-the-art. The valves, the inlets and outlets are all air actuated. I'm old enough to know that the old tanks were all hand valves, and we made a big process of going through and eliminating all of the hand valves and making everything fully automatic. As I mentioned earlier, the process has been upgraded to the point where our technology, I think, rides along with probably any of the big plants in the state of Pennsylvania.
I'm BJ Flora with Kreider Farms. I'm project manager here. Maybe about 9 months ago to a year, Ron came to me with an idea of cupolas to do on several barns here in the valley. The process that we went through, we started at the home farm. We looked at those cupolas, kind of got a dimension. Then through some builders that I know, we got prints of the sides of the cupolas that we wanted and Ron liked. And then I went through the process of trying to figure out exactly what kind of cupola we wanted to put on the barn. I talked to several different cupola companies and we worked through some things, and then for whatever reason my boss Rick Kramer decided to challenge us to build them ourselves. With that process, I started thinking about how I wanted the cupolas to look, and with the barn that we did at the Shank Farm, I thought with the wainscoting, the windows, and the profile of all the trim would match the doors. From there, we kind of set up shop here down at our, what we call the old shop, and we started manufacturing them. It took me probably 4 days to build the first one out of my head, and then from there, my crew and I kind of went at it and did it as a team. If you look here at the wainscoting, that is pretty much the same wainscoting that are on the barns, and that's where that idea came from. Obviously, we don't have the windows in these, but the windows also match the windows that are in the barn doors over there at Shank. Those cupolas are installed. These cupolas actually will be installed right here above us at this facility. The idea of everything that we do here at Kreider's is pretty much we go with a white and black theme. So we have the white cupolas, and then if you look over here, we have the black roofs that pretty much match everything else that we've done.
We're at our Mannheim Egg Processing Center, and this is where we process all of our cage-free and organic eggs. They come in line from the chicken houses. We also bring them in offline from our organic farm. We're packing both private label and branded product in this plant for retailers and in our own brand. And we're packing for retailers from Richmond, Virginia through New England. And in our Kreider brand, which is our Noah's Pride brand for our cage-free and our organic, we're selling that to supermarkets such as ShopRite and Redner's, and we've got distribution up into Connecticut, down into New York City, and into Philadelphia, down into the Baltimore, Washington area. And so we're very excited about that, and our specialty egg line is doing very well. And so this is continuing to grow, and this plant is actually starting to get maxed out to capacity, so we're going to have to start looking at another facility to grow. Our sales are just continuing to increase every week, and so our egg business is really doing very well. Now we're entering our milking parlor, and this is where we milk all of our cows 3 times a day, and this is what we call our wall of fame. These are photos of chefs who use our product, and we post them up here on our wall so that all of our farm tour guests can see some of the establishments that are featuring our dairy products here, that they are trying to support our local dairy farm as much as possible. It's becoming very popular these days that people are very conscious about the products that they buy and that they use in their establishments, and they're trying to support local farms, which we think is great because, you know, we certainly can use all the help we can get, and of course the quality of our product is much higher than most, and that's really the thing that's important to these customers as well, because they want the highest quality products that they can get in addition to supporting local agriculture. We're up in our very popular observation deck at our milking parlor. And what you're looking at now is the herd now jockeying for position to get milked. And what is not apparent, you see a lot of moving right now and jockeying for position. There is actually a very definite pecking order. Cows are like people, they have a social order. And so they're accustomed to being milked in the same order every day. And so the cows are pushing into the position that they're normally accustomed to being milked in. And occasionally you'll even see one cow mount another, and that's really just to say, hey, you're in front of me and I'm supposed to be in front of you, kind of thing. So, but once they get into the carousel area, they load onto the carousel. The carousel has 54 stall positions. It takes about 10 minutes for the carousel to make one revolution. Now, when the cows get on there, they're automatically disinfected. The attendants will wipe each udder with a clean rag. They never cross 2 cows with 1 rag. And then the other attendant will put on the milking apparatus, and it'll take approximately 5 minutes for a cow to give its milk. And then when it gets to the other end of the carousel, when they are empty, it starts to irritate them, and they'll actually kick off the apparatus themselves. So before we got this carousel, we were milking about 700 cows, and it took us about 21 hours to do it twice a day. We're able to now milk 1,700 cows 3 times a day in 15 hours. So it only takes 5 hours per milking. So it's a much more efficient system than what we had before. Now, people had come up with the idea for a carousel many years ago, but the only problem was they couldn't figure out how to get a cow off it once you get them on. And many methods have been tried over the years, but the one that really worked the best was when you have a new cow come onto the carousel, one of the attendants would just stand in front of them with a water hose and kind of spritz them in the face, and they wouldn't like that, so they would just kind of back up on their own. And then you do that a couple of times, and then they get the idea and they go off automatically. Now, as each cow exits, they have a bracelet which the computer registers how much milk they give, how quickly they give it, the temperature of the milk, and that computer will also detect whether or not the cow might be sick, okay? If it's not giving enough milk, if the temperature's not right, and if there seems to be a problem, then as the cow is exiting, the computer will open up a gate and it'll corral her into the observation pen for further observation to see if she may need some medical attention. You're looking at now the blue brush. They used to actually be yellow brushes, but they are using blue ones now. But you'll see that's a very popular feature here at Kreider Farms. We have them here in our milking parlor, and we have them spread out throughout our loafing barn and our maternity barn, and they're very popular. And you'll see right now that one just pushed the other one out of the way to get in there. And we've actually seen sometimes where they'll get a twofer, where 2 cows position themselves where they're both getting a scratch at the same time. But these brushes are working so constantly that they wear out quite often, and we have to replace the brushes frequently, and even the motors burn out. So, but we keep doing that because you can see they just love their motorized brushes. Now, this is our new observation tower. We opened this in May of 2016. Now, this silo was actually on the back of our farm, and it was going to be torn down because the insurance company preferred that we didn't use it anymore, but we thought it would be a waste to not be able to repurpose it for something, and so we thought it would make a great observation tower. But the problem was it was located at the back of our farm, and we couldn't be taking guests back there. So Ron Kreider says, well, maybe we can move it. And we thought that, would be pretty difficult. But sure enough, he found somebody that could move it, and we moved it from the back of the farm, 3 football fields, to where it is today. And we had it remounted in its present location, and then we had it retrofitted into an observation tower. And ever since we opened this in May of 2016, it's become a very popular attraction to our farm tour. We've gotten a lot of people coming from all over the place. We're getting a lot of school buses now coming. The Amish are coming from far and wide because they find this to be very interesting. And once you get to the top, you have a beautiful bird's eye view of our Kreider Valley and all of our farming operations. And you'll see on the rails that we have signs pointing out all of our different facilities, and we have signs pointing to the different cities where we ship our products, from Boston down through Richmond, Virginia. There's also a sign pointing out to the only known Indian gravesite in Lancaster. Now, the last 2 remaining Indians in Lancaster County were Michael and Mary, and they sought refuge on our farm when they were being hunted down by the Paxton boys, and the Hersheys at the time hid them in their basement until the coast cleared. And then when they were able to come out, Michael and Mary stayed on the farm as farmhands for the rest of their lives. And so we have a burial site where they used to live, and that's marked by a sign that we put up, and it's got a symbol of a butterfly, because in Indian tradition the symbol of the butterfly was a symbol of transition from human to spiritual life. And so we thought that was very fitting, and that's become part of our tour as well. So the observation tower has become a very popular part of our farm tour, and we invite everyone to come out on a nice spring day and climb our tower and take a view of our farmland. We're here at what we affectionately call our Perfume Factory, and this is where we take cow manure and chicken manure, and we mix it together into a blend of 25% chicken manure and 75% cow manure. And that gives a perfect blend that we can make into a retail product that we can sell into grocery stores for customers to offer to their retail accounts, where they can actually help us recycle the products that we're producing here on our farm. What we do is we mix it into this first bin, and then every few days we'll move it from one bin to the next, which turns it and allows it to cook. And each bin, it gets a little more cooked until it gets down to the last bin. And when it's finished, we bring it outside and put it into a big pile, all the time using our big super duper pooper scooper, which you see there, that big yellow bulldozer there. That does all the heavy lifting. And then we send that off to be bagged at a bagging operation in Quarryville. And that's getting shipped to nurseries and stores all throughout the northeastern United States. We have some of the Kreider Farms product bagged in our own label that we sell to grocery stores who feature our products, and they can offer that to their customers exclusively as a means to help recycle our product here on the farm. We're in what we call our Maternity Barn, and this is a brand new barn that we built just a few years ago, and this handles all of our maternity operations for all of our cows. The cows will come in here when they're 7 months pregnant. They'll spend their remaining 2 months in this facility, and then they'll give birth in one of these maternity stalls. And then after they give birth to their calf, then they will go to a recovery bin, which is right across from here. In fact, we have a cow over there who's recovering from a birth this morning. They'll remain in this recovery corral for several hours, and then they'll get moved over into the general population of cows who have had their calf, and they'll stay here for another month. They'll stay here for another month recovering and giving their colostrum, which we feed to the calves by hand. And then after they've been here for a month recovering, then they'll go back into our milking parlor, where they'll go back into the milking herd. And this barn has been designed specifically to handle all of the maternity needs of cows that are going through their pregnancy. The stalls are much wider and have more bedding to make them more comfortable. The ventilation is all set with computers to open up the cupolas on the roof, and the curtains on the side of the building will be raised and lowered depending on the temperature and the direction of the wind. We have over 100 fans in here, which keeps the air flowing to keep them comfortable. We also have in this room what we call a feed bot. And what that is, it's kind of like one of those battery operated vacuum cleaners that you see running around people's homes. But the purpose of this is that about every hour and a half or so, it'll go up and down the aisle here, and it just simply pushes the feed back towards the cows, because as they're eating their feed, they gradually start pushing it away from them. And what this bot does is that it goes down the aisle here slowly, and it just pushes the feed back in closer to the cows so that they can reach all of the feed, and it keeps it out of the path of the vehicles going up and down the road here. So on behalf of all of us here at Kreider Farms, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. It was our pleasure to show you around our farm. I'd like to remind you that we're open for public tours Monday through Friday, 12 months a year. Just go on our website or call our farm tour director. Our tours are by reservation only. Please come see us again soon. Thank you for coming.